Happy Comic Book Day, and welcome to the House of D. I am, of course, D Square. Today, I want to talk to you about X-Men and Fantastic Four #1. This has been a highly anticipated issue, particularly by yours truly, because it really goes back all the way to House of X #1, where Cyclops had a little bit of a confrontation with the Fantastic Four over the fact that they wanted to detain Sabretooth, who, although just completed a crime, did enjoy immunity due to the fact that he was a mutant. However, the Fantastic Four vehemently disagreed with this, and at this point, you think that Cyclops is going to tee off on the Fantastic Four with an optic blast, much like he did to Captain America back in X-Men and Avengers. But he doesn't do that. He lets cooler heads prevail and simply walks away, knowing and stating that this will just all get settled later. Cyclops' final act, of course, is to invite Reed Richards and Sue Storm's son, Franklin, to the island of Krakoa. You see, because Franklin is a mutant. He's a mutant with God-level, universe-creating powers. It has been discovered, though, that for whatever reason, every time he uses his power, he has less and less of it, meaning that eventually he's going to be regular, just like a human. This is something that not only Reed Richards and the Fantastic Four know about, but the X-Men are aware of this fact as well. It is at this point that Charles Xavier and the Quiet Council have decided that it's time to try and recruit Franklin Richards. So the X-Men pay the Fantastic Four a visit. Now, Sue Storm is not happy about the prospect of her son no longer being around her and Reed Richards and the rest of his family. So right off the bat, the X-Men are really here in a peaceful way for the most part. It's really Susan Storm here that really starts to get defensive and aggressive pretty much right away. Unfortunately, a fight does break out, not between everybody. Charles Xavier and Reed Richards are, trying to figure this out through dialogue. Reed Richards is annoyed at the fact that, because he believes that the X-Men are pushing this issue that otherwise would be resolved with time. You see, Franklin is growing up. He will be able to make his own decisions, but while he is still a child, Reed Richards can't imagine him being not with his family. Now, while that verbal altercation is going on between Xavier and Reed Richards, all the other X-Men and Fantastic Four are, in a little scuffle. Certainly nothing deadly, but, it certainly is a brawl. Now, however, on the side of things is Kitty Pryde and Franklin Richards. You see, Kitty Pryde was made to come on this mission because of a past events that she's had with Franklin Richards that Xavier seeks to exploit here, because Xavier is aware that Franklin is fond of Kitty. So she's talking with Franklin Richards, letting him know that, this is really your decision, and whatever you decide, I will be behind you. And so what's interesting here is there is a dynamic between father and son, Reed Richards and Franklin Richards, that I was not aware of before. Probably a lot of other people weren't aware. I think this is really the first time they've delved into this. It's the fact that Franklin is always worried about being in the shadow of his father, of the Fantastic Four. Obviously, having God powers helps with that, but he is having an increased amount of stress over this now that he seems to be losing his powers. And what's furthermore straining the relationship between father and son, is Reed Richards isn't able to figure out why this is happening. And Franklin Richards really has the thought of, wow, Reed Richards can solve any other problem in the universe but mine. So Franklin Richards is kind of feeling some sort of way here. And this all escalates when Franklin Richards decides, you know what, I want to go to Krakoa. I'm gonna book for this gate and go to Krakoa. But the gate doesn't work for Franklin Richards. And after that is revealed, Reed Richards tells his son, I'm sorry, I thought something like this might have happened, so I've installed an inhibitor so that, you would not be able to go through Krakoan gates. And this absolutely sets Franklin Richards off. He's absolutely had enough, and he walks away from his father in the whole situation. It is at this point that the mutants completely back off. And when, they ask, oh, so you're just going to leave now? Xavier has a great point here. One that Reed Richards made, which is, you know what? I think you're right. I think time is going to end up resolving this. And ultimately, I think Franklin Richards is just going to come to us anyway. And so they exit stage left. It turns out that Franklin and his sister Valeria are stowaways on the Marauders ship. The problem is, Kitty Pryde is not sailing to Krakoa. She's sailing to another refugee mission. Well, all that really becomes a moot point as we see these metallic tendrils come up from the ocean floor and pick up the boat from the water, and it reveals, that's right, Dr. Doom is now in the picture, wondering where Franklin Richards' father is. What does he want with the X-Men and or Franklin Richards? We don't know yet. Hopefully we'll find out here soon with the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this video. I thought that this issue was going to be great, and I will say that I was not disappointed. This is an interesting story, the interesting dynamic between the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, Franklin Richards being pulled between the two, but really ultimately siding with the mutants. It's just a really, really cool dynamic, and I didn't expect that part. So kudos to the writers on this one. As far as the Kitty Pryde situation, you may not know this if you're not following the Marauders and the Dawn of X titles, but Kitty Pryde is, like, spoiler alert, presumably dead right now. The last time you see her in the Marauders in issue number 6, she was, like, drowned, okay? And I won't go into any more spoilers than that. So I am kind of in the dark here as far as, okay, so does this happen after Kitty comes back, or is this before those events? That's really my only critique, is that much like the original DBZ movies, you don't exactly know where in the timeline it's happening. But nonetheless, it's a great story. So if you haven't picked it up already, I definitely recommend you do so. Alright guys, well thank you so much for viewing this video. If you'd like to see some more comic reviews from yours truly, I do some indie comic reviews on superheroespeak.com, so make sure and check out that great site. You can also catch me, Volsker, and J100 doing the House of D podcast. Episode 3 will be out soon. Until then, guys, peace and love, and I'll talk to you again soon.